we're getting ready. Well, actually, I'm not getting ready, but a lot of people are getting ready for the Olympia. A lot of people are getting ready to either compete, show out at the expo, go check everything out. And the guys who are actually going to be competing bodybuilding-wise, who knows, right? I'm not I'm not watching every show of every guy, but, I think everybody tunes in a little bit extra during Olympia weekend. And yeah, it'll be a showdown, that's for sure. So this is kind of a lot of stuff coming together all at once. So in terms of the open guys, which is just a crazy situation of a back and forth. Samson won last year. Derek won the Arnold, so now it's like kind of up in the air. Or actually, shit, did Derek win the Arnold? I'm like 70% sure he did. I was there. I don't know why I'm not remembering. But also Nick Walker's coming back. And all three of those guys, if you've ever seen them in person, it's nuts. It's crazy seeing guys that big walking around as if it's just freaking normal. Puts things in perspective for sure. There's always a bigger fish out there, but that's kind of the point, man. It's just fun to get to see guys who are kind of taking it that far. But no, so that'll at least be some good hype for me dieting down. Seeing these guys actually on stage, bringing it, obviously to a completely different level. But the basic gist of the prep is pretty, I'd imagine it's similar for everybody, right? If you're actually doing a legit show, lean, cardio, dieting, basically just difficult, it's all kind of on the same page. But no, like I said last year, everybody's going to watch the Olympia unfold. Somebody is going to be crowned all the way from open to men's physique and classic and everything in between. And it's going to make people excited. It's every big bodybuilding show, the Olympia, the Arnold, really leaving every expo, it adds a certain allure to really just adds an allure to the sport, right? It's, it's like when Top Gun came out and it really showed off being a freaking fighter pilot, it's actually pretty cool. It kind of highlights just the cool part. Well, shit, everybody wanted to be a fucking fighter pilot, So in every kind of endeavor, sport, whatever, it's the same thing. Everybody wants to do a project car if they go see a car show or whatever. But that hype fades because, if you're sitting in the Olympia stage in Vegas or the Olympia venue and you're watching, they're shooting confetti off, it's insane, it's huge. And that's it's very hype inducing. But fast forward a week, fast forward 2 weeks, everybody goes back to where they're from, or maybe they live there and they just go back to wherever. It's, the guys who really want to bring it, the guys who get somewhere, and not even in, the context of insane bodybuilding progress or anything, but just working out in general, they're the ones who, they don't lose that hype. It almost doesn't really even fluctuate, right? It's like, if you know somebody who's a little bit more erratic, they're kind of always chasing highs and their lows are extra low. If people have that with motivation, it's like, I'm locking in this week. 3 days of workouts go by and then fell off the wagon. The guys who I think bring it always have a steady baseline in the green. One day some guy might have 10 level motivation, just hype, excitement, but if the next 6 days are -3, I don't want to do it, well then that counteracts. The average is in the red. The guys who for them that's just day by day activity, that's what they want to do. They don't have it's not a huge challenge for them to do it. Well, obviously they're hyped and excited, but they don't have to bring it this high all the time. For them it's, let's get after it. They're at a solid, in the positive range. It's like putting your money into an index fund. It's always going to grow, Of course, that's not always true, but you get what I'm saying. It's where it's not a challenge to challenge yourself, right? Kind of a little bit Bruce Lee, the best defense is no defense, right? Don't put yourself in a position to get hit. So with the working out, I guess the best way I could kind of translate that is the best hype is not having a lack of hype and just always being kind of excited, or at least driven in a way to go hit your lifts and get your things done that just doesn't fade, you know? And if that can be you, then you're setting yourself up for success, because then things are really just going to start to happen, right? It's like, you know, every day you gotta, if you want to grow a freaking house plant, sure, every day you gotta water it, but everything else just kind of happens after, you know? Now, if that's a good analogy or not, what are you gonna do? But how about let's get in here and hit some freaking legs. Quads is gonna be the star of this show, but I'm still gonna thrash hamstrings first. Just not as heavy. So 150 on this stack, that'd be a good starter. One more of those at least. And there's a standing curl that actually looks pretty cool over there. That'll be good next. Not my favorite leg curl, but it's not bad. You know, it's just a little different than normal. Okay. All right. Let's do some letters. I guess you'd call this a kneeling curl. You'll see. I don't see this machine a lot though. It's right behind me, or more like behind you. So these will be much more controlled than that leg curl set was. And that was kind of the point, you know? I mean, a nasty set, a little heavier, a little quicker. You know, it's almost like you're exerting more force from a faster acceleration of the weight, if you kind of follow me. But I wouldn't want every set to be like that. So that's where this machine comes into play. And this could probably fit 7 45s on either side. I don't know who could do it. A 25 will suffice for me. But this will be lighter, squeezing, just a very different looking set. Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay. Let's see, I'm not sure if I want to do 1 or 2 more. But either way, I gotta do 1 more, so let's just get ready for the next one. But this is a good machine. If you have this for your gym, you're spoiled. Okay, I lied. Or I didn't lie, but I've discovered. Let's do one more set of that leg curl. And that'll be it for hams, at least for today. Then we'll get some quads started, leg extension. I'll do some kind of, not pause, but paused reps. So halfway up, completely stop the momentum, and then basically, I mean, obviously, you've got to use your hamstring to do a hamstring curl. But once you get the weight moving, you can kind of ride the momentum a little bit. You know, even if you don't think that you are. So honestly, with curls and hamstring curls, I like these a lot. Go halfway up, stop, and then finish. And if you got a hard time actually feeling your hamstrings like squeeze, honestly, this is just kind of a good drill to even build that connection. Because the weight's not going to move unless your hamstrings are firing. So, you know, it kind of just trains you to feel it at least. But for me, it's just a good change up from before. Okay. All right, let's get some leg extensions started. Let's see if 20 reps are gonna take today. Okay. Oh. I think I could have had that last one. That was BS. Let's do some leg extensions. That's too freaking heavy. Oh my God. I don't think I felt as much teardrop activation in a squat as that set fucking ever. I think the math is going to check out that squats can still be on the agenda during the cut, but like probably once every 2 weeks. Once a week is probably even too much. But let's do some relative back off pump burning sets. So that was good. Tons of tension, which, as we're all aware, is at least a big part of the equation of muscle growth and maintenance. I could come in and do, leg extensions with 5 pounds. My strength is going to crash. My size is going to shrink. You need that load just to give yourself Honestly, it's almost like muscular tension plus everything else is just a big part of that opposing force, which, if you keep yourself in constant battle with, let's just say you're on track. But that's not a training take. That's more of just a out of breath ramble. But to counter that wild set, let's do some single leg, alternating leg extensions, a little quicker, a little more pumpish, like those leg curls were in the beginning. But 5 on the left, 5 on the right, back and forth until I'm just about a failure. And I think my quad volume is going to get cut a little lower just because I kind of, let's say it takes 100 damage points to take out an opponent. That was 50 right there in one set. But no, let's get real here. And this is much more squeeze emphasized. Okay. There we go. Oh, yes. Okay. Let's do a double except for the next one. That's got to be the most cinematically pleasing set of leg extensions I've ever seen in my life. Or at least it's about to be. This would be double leg. No pause reps, just straight up quad destruction. Okay. Oh, okay. A few more basics, one like that. Oh, shit. Okay. Holy crap. Ooh. Holy shit. Dude, I have not felt the teardrops from my quads this, just tender in months. Maybe this is the perfect leg extension. Who knows? This is a good quad day. I think, I don't know. There's so many different ways to think about it. Because it's like, should you work up to a heavy set throughout the workout? Leg extensions, leg press, then a peak heavy set right in the middle, kind of pyramiding up. Or warm up, and then while you're freshest, do an extra heavy set in the beginning, kind of set the tone, and then you're not going to recreate that set's weight and reps, so the rest of the sets are just kind of like, toppings. Instead of starting with an appetizer, you go straight to the main course, followed by a whole bunch of sides after. And I don't think there's one way to do it, but I think if you do it a whole bunch of different ways, you'll find out what you like, and then obviously lean into that. If you've got some skill, some dexterity to play guitar, you're probably not going to play drums. Even if you could, you're going to want to do what you're good at, So, like, there's a fine line between, what's objectively effective, but also what you make effective from how you do it, right? So, just something to think about. Don't catch yourself completely following sheep mentality and just doing what everyone else does because that's what everyone else is doing, if you get it. Okay. Oh shit. Okay. Let's pose down. That was good. All right. Yeah, this is, damn. Even flat, not full of like a freaking million grams of carbs or anything. My quads are as swollen as I could freaking expect them to get. And that's a good thing for me. So what that tells me is at the very least, I got a good pump, but also looking back on what I actually did today, decently hydrated, went nuts. It makes sense. The math checks out. The books are balanced. Some wild sets plus solid sleep and preparation should add up to a pretty badass lift. But let's actually see how we're looking. Oh, goodness. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. Yeah. So not like the most peeled I've ever been, but actually starting to see some sort of inverse Dorito, honestly kind of, what's the word? Hourglass look. More, the guy version. But yeah, let's hit a little lat spread just to really bring it out. Yeah. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. So, yeah, the leaner I get, honestly, the more like fat I lose on my butt. It'll almost make my hamstrings, at least when they're pumped, stick out further back than my glutes, which is a really cool thing to see. That's kind of just proof you've got trunks. But even standing, no flexing, like, these things are freaking tense. And then with a flex, there's no give whatsoever. I'd honestly be curious what my pumped quads are on the Mohs hardness scale. Not diamond. But who knows? We'll save that test for later. But I think nothing else to say. Let's just bring it out of here, man. Awesome lift. All right. This is it. This is the feeling I'm aiming for. Not flexing at all. My quads are still tense. Yeah, this is nice. This is what I want to see. So honestly, I don't know. I think let's get into a little bit about the squat, right? I think the squat gets a little bit pushed into the back burner. It's kind of hated on as a quad movement by some. Typically, those who have not really squatted before, which I completely understand because squats are tricky. Like, I only am such a big proponent of squats now because I've done them for long enough that I'm like kind of good at them. Because it is a skill. Like, it's not just getting on like a preacher curl. You're balancing, you're bracing, you're trying not to let your lower back round over a little bit. I think I have a little bit of a butt wink. That's when at the bottom you kind of sort of like your pelvis kind of rolls in just a little bit. I never feel anything from it, but that's something I'm trying to work on. But it's tricky. You're not just gonna, if someone is completely untrained in the squat, well, then squats are gonna suck. You're not gonna be able to load it up. You're not even gonna like it. You're just gonna feel like you're being crushed, and you're not even, like, the weight on your back isn't even translating to your quads. And some don't even like the idea of it, because it's like, well, couldn't you just do a leg press instead and load your quads that way? Which I understand, and I kind of do agree with, but there's just something special about the squat, man. There's a little something extra from, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm a Tom Platz fan, and I liked watching Clarence Kennedy earlier when I started working out, or even, just about when I started. So I've already got like a preference to like the squat. But it's good, because once you get a decent technique, like, that's why I put my plate or my heels on that plate, so that I can let my knees go forward a little more and keep my back a little bit more upright. Because a powerlifter style squat, super low bar, they lean really far forward. Well, that's not that quad focused. That you're using your glutes, you're using your lower back, you're using your whole posterior chain to kind of press the weight up, rather than really load it into your quads. So, there's something about it, and it's almost beyond words. Like, those who have squatted legit, they kind of know what I'm talking about, right? And if you need a little bit of motivation to get squatting, or at least watch somebody who's a total beast, look up Kyle Curvey. Kyle Curvey is insane. He's going to be squatting over 900 for sure, but he's repping like 750 for 5. Well, like, it's nuts. Now, obviously, the guy's huge too, which kind of, plays into it. If you're a 300-pound dude, of course you can lift a ton of weight, but still, absolutely insane. So for whatever reason, man, I like the squat. I get a little lower back activation, I get some glute activation, but if you can, get a good stance, typically I like a little narrower. The heel elevated helps me. If you have more flexible ankles, you can just do squat shoes. Those are totally solid. I just like a little bit more. And if you can really get into it, you're gonna like it. I can say that with absolute certainty. But let me pull up a different kind of question here. I want to chill for a couple of minutes before I actually before I leave. So let's just run through some YouTube comments and see if we got any perplexing kind of questions in here. Let's scroll down a little further. Let me see here. I've actually got to look up the Q&A. Yeah. But so tomorrow is actually going to be an early upload. I'm not going to be doing any of this like 9 o'clock at night BS. You get into a weird sort of schedule once you start getting delayed. So the last couple of days has been hit the lift, post the lift right after. But let's get a couple good ones in here. Okay, all right. Well, that's not. Who would win in a fight between Andrei Smaev and 100 Genghis Khans? I don't think we'll ever know, but I think the 100 Genghis Khans have that pretty easily. Another Genghis Khan meme. Who would win, Genghis Khan or Jack's Fitness? Genghis Khan. The top 10 comments in here is Genghis Khan. I gotta scroll down to like lesser liked ones. Top 5 bodybuilders of all time. That's actually that's a good question. That's one I haven't actually gotten into before. And is it top 5 like objectively, or top 5 for my own preference? I think we'll start with the preference version. There's no question I'd have to put Arnold at number 1, just due to total, like, infamous notoriety. And look, I mean, we're throwing aura around. If you've ever seen Arnold walk into a Gold's Gym and then just see everyone else's reaction, honestly, I don't think it's that much different than if, somebody watched a president or like the Queen of England show up somewhere. It was palpable, So the fact that it's just so everlasting from him, he's up there. That's for sure. I don't think that's contested. Cutler's up there. I don't think that's contested either. Ronnie's up there, also not contested. But those are basic. That's not a hot take. Beyond that, oh man, I don't know. I'm still a huge Kevin Levrone fan. Like watching those old training videos and just like kind of having a huge look, but still kind of that regular taper. I think I'm going to have to put Levrone up there. Oh. And then just as a character, I might have to throw in Tom Platz. But of course, that's not like, plugging into ChatGPT who are the best. But those are the top 5 that I can think of in my roster. Like if I was going to put 5 posters up on the wall at the Sam Gym, I could see those being it, just because for me at least, there's a decent kind of connection with getting amped up from watching their stuff. Important question: do I want a 1v1 in Clash Royale against you? You gotta put your friend request tag, and then maybe I would have. Sorry about that, official Yuichiro. But let's get one more good one. This isn't a good one, but we'll add this. Will the long hair ever return? Yeah, technically it's returning right now. It's not the quickest process. It'll come back. It's going to take a little bit. But yeah, I think longish hair will come back. I'm not planning on getting it cut for at least a little while. Apart from like, I sort of do a scissor cut right over my eyes. Because if I let the whole thing grow out, I'd be sitting here with like a total mop. So I'll usually give myself a little kind of trim just in the front to keep things at least relatively controlled. But let's see here. Oh yeah, that's a good one. From Riv Smith. Are you buoyant? I'm wondering if your added muscle mass makes you negatively buoyant in water compared to when you used to dive in high school. Even in high school, I didn't float. I don't think I've ever really floated. Like if I get a big breath of air and I kind of sit, like I can float like corpse style, where like my back is kind of on top of the water, but everything else is kind of hanging below. But no, I haven't been buoyant for quite a while, because your muscle's denser than standard water. Plus, you're also counting your bones. Yeah, and I do not float. Honestly, it's to the point where if I wanted to actually, I mean, as much as it's dangerous to go in the ocean anyway, rip current, whatever, you might see me wear a freaking life jacket just so I can chill instead of having to tread water, But yeah, no, I have not floated for a while, even back then. But it was never a problem, because with diving, you're not really swimming. You jump in, you land, you kind of do, I forget what they call it. You're supposed to do a little bit of a trick where, like when you go in the water, your hands are like this. And as soon as you hit the water, you spread your hands and kind of open this like air bubble that the rest of your body like fills into, and then you like do a front flip underwater just to like minimize your splash upward. And then you just kind of have like, 3 paddles worth, and then you're right back at the edge. Like that's one thing I do want to kind of bring up. Everybody, when people bring it up, they go, "Oh, Sam, you used to swim, right?" No, I used to dive. Very different. And if you didn't know, there's actually kind of a beef, like a college swim team versus a diving team. They're honestly not really buddies. Like there's cool guys on. It depends on the team, whatever. But for the most part, it's kind of like they only get grouped together because they're both in the aquatic center. So it kind of has to be like a group thing. But it's sort of a mob mentality where there's 100 swimmers and there's like 5 divers. So it's a little bit of a power dynamic. But yeah, no, awesome leg day. These are going to be stinging me tomorrow. My cardio will definitely be on the treadmill instead of the bike, so it's a little bit lower intensity. But yeah, that was good. I'm excited to get back to the computer to re-watch that set of squats just to get myself amped up. But no, that was that was freaking solid. So chest tomorrow. Not sure what gym it's going to be at, but I can guarantee I'm going to be pumped to SHIT. So I guess I'll just see you then.